In London to chat on the program tonight is Morrissey, who's the lead singer of the Smiths. Hello, Morrissey.
Hello.
And welcome. You've come down from Manchester just for this. That's terrific. The first thing we've got to do, I guess, is establish for people who may not know anything about you, which is, I guess, quite a few people outside Manchester, how you came to be in a band called the Smiths. Are you a founder member of the quartet?
Yes, I am. I was discovered, if you like, by Johnny, the guitarist. He just came and unearthed me one day and insisted that we collaborate, and the Smiths emerged immediately. And we planned a strategy, and everything's worked, and here we are.
And when was that?
I met Johnny a year ago, and the Smiths have been in their present form for 8 months.
That's Johnny Marr.
Johnny Marr, yes.
So how did you know you could sing? Were you in a band before?
It was just a vague rumour that went around Manchester, and he found me. He did some detective work, and I was just there dying, and he rescued me.
Were you a solo performer or anything? Because you are the tunesmith of the band along with Johnny. I mean, what experience did you have before that? He must have known you had some talent there somewhere.
Well, I think it was largely word of mouth, so I really can't explain it further than that, what exactly he heard, but it's been very nice.
Right. Where did you start playing in Manchester? Because there's not that many well, you could say that about any place, really. The Hacienda is the most celebrated. Where did you start? Can you remember your first gig well? Is it something that you...
Well, I can remember it vividly. It was at the Ritz, which is quite a nice little place. We've really carefully handpicked our appearances. We haven't bothered really with the low club circuit, because you can go on forever. We've had lots of offers to play places in Manchester, but we've really been very selective, because we really don't want to waste our time and other people's time. And so far, everything we've planned has worked.
So you sound very confident about your live show. There's a line here somewhere about your live show that I was going to ask you about. It says in your Rough Trade biog, as a live group, the Smiths believe that it is possible to replenish appetites of both the soul and the pelvis simultaneously.
Yes. Well,
how do you do that?
It's really easy. Me being literary and Johnny with his melodic ideas, it just seems to emerge together so successfully. I can't explain it. It's really quite natural. We just follow nature, and there you have it.
All right. Tell us about the other two members of the band before we hear another number in.
They were also roped in by Johnny. Andy Rourke on bass and Mike Joyce on drums. They're just the most capable musicians that I've ever came across in Manchester, and it's a perfect little family.
Great. All right. Well, let's play another number that you recorded especially for this program. This is called These Things Take Time. Is there anything you can tell us about this song?
Well, largely it's about the wounds of unfulfillment, and I think we should take it from there. Just listen to the words.
tune was called These Things Take Time. They're in session tonight, and happily Morrissey, who sings with the band and is one of the founder members, is in the studio with us. It's strange when I think of Manchester being the large place it is and being a place that has a lot of creative people that I know well. It hasn't thrown up the number of bands that, say, Liverpool has, a neighbouring city. Why is that, do you think?
I think there's a strange form of semi-disablement running through Manchester at the moment. I think it really does ludicrously stem to the factory thing and the whole hacienda thing. It seemed terribly antiseptic, and it held people back. And there was this big course of depression that everybody took, which I think we are the first group to change in Manchester. Nobody else is doing it. They're still clinging to the old idea of being very depressive and inverted, which is really no good. It doesn't really get you very far. So I think people were so influenced by the early factory thing, which was nice for a time, but things have to change. There's no point being grey anymore, and there's no point being depressing. You have to, if you really are depressed, you have to utilise your depression and change things and see humour in tragedy if it's there. So that's what we're trying to do.
How do you think the factory thing became, Tony Wilson and New Order and the boys, how do they become trendsetters in that way? Because, again, Liverpool or Glasgow or other cities have a diverse selection of music.
Competition isn't really vast in Manchester. If you really do anything, you stick out immediately. So, but I think there was a certain degree of talent behind the whole factory thing, and it was quite skillful in a way. But there really isn't a great deal happening in Manchester, and therefore whenever you do anything, if you're really good, you will stand out at once, which I think is good.
Do you plan on staying in Manchester, keeping it as your base then?
Not really. I don't really feel any kinship with the place. It's just somewhere that I just so happen to live. Yeah. It's really doesn't mean a great deal to me, and I'm sure I'll leave very soon when I'm rich.
What about other music now? Do you listen to the radio a great deal or hear other people's music?
I listen to the radio now that we seem to be on it quite a lot. But before that, I didn't really listen a great deal. I gave up for a while. But other groups, without really trying to sound terribly down on modern music, much of it really doesn't affect me a great deal. It seems tragically tidy, and everybody has their little safety nets and their little life rafts, and once people seem to get a hit, they seem to just dilute the formula constantly, and there's no risk involved, and it's really so desperately tidy that I want to change things. But I don't want to imply that the Smiths are a high-risk situation in any way. Of course they're not. They're immediately listenable, but it just needs somebody with some heart and some brain. I think popular music needs brains at the moment.
What about the synthetic music that is produced with synthesizers, of course, and drum machines? Do you think that has gone or contributed to an antiseptic kind of sound?
It has contributed greatly, and the fact is, when I look back in the last few years, I really can't remember that much of the music, such is its lasting effect. I think it's instantly forgettable, and it horrifies me in many respects. It's so sterile and non-human. I don't understand why people play non-human music. It really mystifies me when we're human beings. It's strange. I hate it.
What about people like the Sex Pistols that were obviously very lively and a bit dangerous when they arrived? Do you like them or listen to their stuff or like them at the time?
I think, strangely, I liked them until they made records. I saw them quite a few times before they actually made records. And then when they did, and it just became, suddenly punk had this enormous scope and was everywhere. Obviously it lost everything, and looking back I don't really have that much affection for the whole punk thing. It really didn't mean too much to me at all, but of course I would rather it be there than not.
Where do you draw inspiration from writing from your own life?
Yes, I do, which has been quite tragic, so hence most of the words seem to be quite tragic and sorrowful, if you like. But I think that's where most true people have to draw their influences for writing, from their lives. What else? I mean,
is it a therapy writing for you then if you've had problems?
It's an absolute physical necessity. I dread to think where I'd be if the Smiths didn't exist.
All right, well, let's play that. What does this song reflect problems that you've had then? You've got everything now.
I sound in a mess. You've got everything now. This is quite interesting, although you might find it quite strange. I find it really interesting. It's a throwback to when I was at school, and I was quite advanced when I was at school. And when I left school, it seemed that all these really oafish clods from school were making tremendous progress and had wonderfully large cars and lots of money, and I seemed to be constantly waiting for a bus that never came. And it seemed as though, although I had the brains, I really didn't have anything else. And maybe it seems that it pays not to think. I don't know. You get far if you don't think. I don't know. I'll leave it up to everybody else.
A little bit like life in the slow lane.
As merry as the days were long, I am right and you are wrong. Back at the old grey school, I would win and you would lose. But you've got everything now. You've got everything now. And what a terrible mess I've made of my life. Oh, what a mess I've made of my life. No, I've never had a job because I've never wanted one. I've seen you smile, but I've never heard you laugh. So who is rich and who is poor I cannot say. Mother's only son, and you're a desperate one. But I don't want to love her, I just want to be seen. In the back of your car, our friendship sadly lost. Well, this is true, and yet it's false. But did I ever tell you, by the way, I never did like your face. But you've got everything now. You've got everything now. And what a terrible mess I've made of my life. Oh, what a mess I've made of my life. No, I've never had a job because I'm too shy. I've seen you smile, but I've never really heard you laugh. So who is rich and who is poor I cannot say. Oh, you are your mother's only son, and you're a desperate one. But I don't want to love her, I just want to be tied.
From the Smiths, that was called You've Got Everything Now. Morrissey, who sings with the band and writes the words for the band, is here. You were produced on your first single by Troy Tate.
No, that isn't true.
You weren't. You were not produced.
No.
Oh, where did I get that from? I associate Troy Tate with you.
Right, he's just done an album with us and a single.
A forthcoming single?
Yes, a forthcoming single.
I see. How did you meet up with him, or how did he see you?
It was a communion by rough trade. They just found Troy and found us and stuck us both together. And it's been a quite a magical communion. So I'm really pleased.
So you've got loads and loads of songs for a first LP then, have you? You're not sort of thinking, God, we've got to fill that
No, we
fill that
just
thing up.
have excessive material. It's difficult. It's the dilemma of our life is choosing between so many really wonderful songs. I mean, I suppose anybody can say that, but it's absolutely true, and people shall find out.
Okay. Well, Hand in Glove was the first release.
Yes.
Okay, and we're still playing that, still active, and
Yes.
still perhaps you have hopes of that getting into the charts somewhere.
I have the highest hopes. As each day passes, I have higher hopes. It must be heard by everybody. It must be translated into all languages. I feel so strongly about the song.
Why? What is it about the song that...
It seems to be the soundtrack of my entire life. It seemed that everything I did before Hand in Glove was simply working towards it. And I think the record is so absolutely perfect in every respect that if it just dribbles away, I shall be ill, probably forever. Hand in Glove must do something.
All right. How do you get that's the other thing I wondered about as a new band. Is it difficult getting gigs at first? I mean, because it must be really competitive out there.
We never found any difficulty whatsoever. I don't know why. It's just our charm. People seem to bang on our door and drag us out. Very nice.
Right. Thank you, Morrissey. And I wish you luck with the LP, which is coming out when?
Within minutes.
Within minutes?
Yes.
Which means...
Well, probably about 6 weeks.
Something like that. All right, then.